Why doesn't checking in for your flight actually guarantee that you'll fly? Why, in some cases, can a decision about your trip be made before you even reach the gate? And here's the surprising part: why airplanes aren't even the main source of income for airports. It sounds strange until you understand one thing: the airport starts working on you long before you board the plane. The moment you walk into the terminal, you're already inside a system that manages movement, analyzes risk, and generates revenue, often all at the same time. And most of it happens without you even noticing. Your path isn't random. Your time is calculated. And some decisions about your journey can happen without your direct input. And this isn't happening to just you. It's happening to thousands of people every single minute. From the outside, an airport looks simple: queues, screens, gates. But from an engineering perspective, it's a system designed to manage flow. People, baggage, vehicles, information, all moving according to a structured logic. The goal sounds simple: move as many people as possible, quickly, safely, and without disruption. But in practice, it's a continuous optimization problem. And here's the key idea. For you, the experience feels linear. You arrive, go through security, and board a plane. But inside the system, every passenger is a variable that affects the overall balance. Now think about this. Why is it so hard to get lost in even the largest airports? You instinctively know where to go: check-in, security, gates. That's not an accident. Your route has been designed in advance, not just logistically, but psychologically. Corridor width, lighting, distances, all of it affects how fast you move and how stressed you feel. Lower stress means faster flow. Even the signage is designed so you make decisions almost automatically. But there's another layer. Passenger routes are often designed to pass through retail areas, shops, cafes, duty-free. That's not convenience, that's design. This is what's known as a controlled flow path. Put simply, no one forces you to spend money, but the space is designed to gently guide your behavior. And this is where it becomes clear. A terminal isn't just a building, it's a scenario. One where you move through a system that's already been planned in detail. And the first moment you officially enter that system is check-in. On the surface, it looks simple. Boarding pass, drop your bag, head to the gate. But this is where a critical check happens. Check-in isn't just a formality, it's an eligibility filter. Your documents, visas, route, and connections are all verified. In practical terms, you're being cleared to travel. But, and this matters, only provisionally. Checking in does not guarantee that you'll fly. It only confirms that, at this stage, everything is in order. From there, other layers come into play. Security, control, boarding, and decisions can still change. At the same time, a departure control system is running in the background. Your data is synchronized between the airline, the airport, and in some cases, government systems. This isn't just administrative, it feeds into the operational side of the flight. Because an aircraft isn't just transportation, it's a system where everything is interconnected. Passenger count, seating distribution, baggage, all of it affects weight balance, takeoff performance, and flight parameters. And this leads to an important point. Your right to fly isn't finalized at check-in. It's confirmed much later, when you're physically on board and the flight is officially closed in the system. Which is why the idea, "I checked in, so I'm definitely flying," doesn't actually apply in aviation. Because check-in is just the beginning. The moment you drop off your suitcase at check-in, it disappears from view. But it doesn't just vanish. It enters a completely separate system, one that runs in parallel to your journey. An airport isn't just the terminal you see. Behind the scenes, and often beneath your feet, there's a hidden infrastructure of conveyor belts, scanners, sorting hubs, and junctions. Every bag gets a unique identity, a baggage tag. From that point on, the system knows where it's going, which flight it belongs to, and how it needs to move through the airport. From an engineering perspective, this is a routing problem, very similar to how data moves across the internet or how packages are handled in large logistics centers. The goal is simple: move each item quickly, accurately, and without error. Each bag goes through several stages. First, identification and scanning, then security screening. Only after that is it routed through the system: conveyors, automated diverters, sorting points. In large airports, this network can stretch for several kilometers, handling thousands of bags at the same time. And here, speed is critical. Because the bag doesn't set the schedule, the flight does. If something goes wrong, a bag might miss its flight or be routed incorrectly. That's why automated systems are constantly monitored and irregular cases are handled manually. But there's another key point. Baggage isn't independent from the passenger. Up until departure, it remains linked to you. If a passenger doesn't show up for boarding, their bag has to be removed from the aircraft. This is a standard safety requirement, which means a single missing passenger can trigger additional work. Locate the bag, offload it, recheck it, and sometimes that affects departure timing. After check-in, you move to the next layer of the system, security. On the surface, it looks simple: a scanner, a checkpoint, a conveyor belt. But in reality, it's a multi-layered process. The first layer is technology. X-ray scanners analyze the contents of your carry-on. They don't just see items, they interpret shapes, material density, and potential risks. Modern systems can automatically flag suspicious objects and highlight them for the operator. The second layer is chemical detection. Specialized sensors can detect trace amounts of substances that are invisible to the human eye. The third layer is human judgment. Security staff assess not only objects, but also unusual situations when needed. And this matters. It's not about constant surveillance. It's about adding context where systems need it. In major airports, parts of this process are automated. Software helps track passenger flow, identify bottlenecks, and redistribute load in real time. But final decisions still rely on people. And here's the key idea: security isn't just about detecting threats, it's also about maintaining flow. If screening slows down, it impacts queues, gates, and flight schedules. So the system constantly balances control and speed, technology and human oversight. And this leads to one of the most unexpected parts of the airport. Most people assume airports make money from airplanes, but that's only part of the picture. A significant portion of revenue comes from passengers. Airlines pay for landing, parking, and ground services, but that's the baseline. The real revenue is inside the terminal: coffee, food, retail, duty-free, lounges. Businesses don't just pay rent. They often share a percentage of their sales, which means the airport earns from every purchase. And that's exactly why terminals are designed the way they are. The longer you stay in the post-security area, the more likely you are to spend money. This isn't accidental. It's part of the business model. From an engineering perspective, it's another optimization problem. Maximize passenger interaction with commercial areas without disrupting flow or safety, which is why a modern airport isn't just a transport hub. It's a hybrid of logistics and retail. And while you're waiting for your flight, the system keeps running and keeps generating revenue. While passengers are inside the terminal, a different kind of work is happening outside, on the apron. This is one of the most dynamic parts of the entire system. Every flight is essentially a timed operation. There's a fixed departure window, and everything has to happen within it. As soon as an aircraft arrives, multiple teams begin working simultaneously. Baggage unloading, new loading cabin, cleaning, refueling, technical checks, catering. None of this happens in sequence. It all happens in parallel. From an engineering perspective, this is process synchronization. Each task is coordinated with the others and has to be completed at the right moment. For example, baggage loading affects weight distribution. Weight distribution affects aircraft balance. Balance affects takeoff performance. So even something as routine as handling luggage has a direct impact on flight safety. At the center of this operation is the turnaround coordinator, often called a supervisor. They monitor timing, coordinate teams, and make decisions when something goes off plan. Because delays here aren't isolated. They create ripple effects across gates, schedules, and other flights. That's why the Apron operates at the edge of synchronization. Dozens of people and machines working as a single system, where every minute truly matters. There's another layer to this system, one without which everything we've talked about simply wouldn't work: air traffic control. From a passenger's perspective, it looks simple. You look out the window and the plane just seems to follow its route. But in reality, every movement is being coordinated. An aircraft isn't guided by a single person. It moves through a chain of controllers, and at every stage, its path is coordinated with dozens of other flights. It's more like a relay. Control is passed from one sector to another: taxi, takeoff, departure, en route, Approach. Each phase has its own rules, its own constraints, and all of it operates as one connected system. Now imagine this. Dozens of aircraft sharing the same airspace, each at a different altitude, speed, and trajectory. And all of them have to move in sync. If one element breaks down, bad weather, a delay, a disruption, it triggers a chain reaction. Spacing changes, cues shift, routes are adjusted. And here's the key point. Air traffic controllers don't just guide aircraft, they maintain order. Because without that layer of coordination, the entire system would quickly lose stability. Which is why this is one of the few professions where the cost of error isn't financial. It's measured in lives. But controllers aren't the only ones keeping the system running. There are roles most passengers never even notice. One of the clearest examples is de-icing. From the outside, it looks simple. A truck pulls up, fluid is sprayed on the wings, and that's it. But in reality, it's a critical step. Even a thin layer of ice can change the aerodynamic properties of a wing, and that directly affects takeoff. So operators work just meters away from the aircraft, spraying fluid under pressure with very little margin for error. And they're working against the clock. After treatment, there's a limited window where the protection remains effective. If the aircraft doesn't depart in time, the entire process has to be repeated. And that's just one example. Airports rely on engineers, technicians, and analysts who continuously monitor aircraft condition and systems. Most of their work goes completely unnoticed. But without it, flights wouldn't happen. There are also teams working in the background to prevent problems before they even appear. Runway inspection crews, for example. They check surfaces for debris, because even a small object can become a serious hazard. This is known as FOD, foreign object debris, and it has no place anywhere near an aircraft. At the same time, analytical teams are constantly assessing risk, tracking patterns, and identifying potential issues early, which is why the system feels stable, because most problems are solved before they're ever visible. And this brings us to the bigger picture, because what's most interesting about an airport isn't the airplanes, it's how everything works together. For a passenger, it's just a few hours: check-in, security, waiting, boarding. But behind that experience is a system involving hundreds of people, dozens of services, and thousands of interconnected processes. And if even one part fails, the impact spreads almost immediately. That's why an airport doesn't operate in parts. It operates as a single system, continuous, coordinated, always running. And the next time you walk through an airport, you probably won't see it the same way, because now you understand what's really happening behind the scenes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe.